Hey everyone, I'm recording this video in the dark as I drive back from a not a long distance, but slight long distance, relatively speaking. And I wanted to just expound on the day that I had and why I took the trip that I took, and how it relates to Christmas, the Christmas season, quote unquote. Technically, I have to say, as a liturgically aware Catholic, without wanting to come across as pedantic or anything, but technically we are not in Christmas season at this point. We are in the Advent season. Advent is the time before Christmas. It's the time of anticipation. It's the time when we are looking forward to the moment when the grand thing will take place, where God will be with us, where God will become incarnate. And Advent is a time of waiting and anticipating, but really it's it's an important point to be made, liturgically speaking. But when you talk about the season, this is the Christmas season, because what are we waiting for? We're waiting for Christmas, whether we're religious or not, whether you believe, whether you're a believer or not, or whether you're churched or not. It's all about this season is all about Christmas and the Christmas vibe, if you will. That's what I'm going to call it. This is something I think maybe I've said this before. I don't know. It's something that makes me definitely a little square. It makes me a little unhip. It makes me kind of I don't know, old-fashioned, and not appropriately cynical. But I really like Christmas. I really love Christmas and what we secularly call the Christmas season. That is to say, the time. I don't date it before Thanksgiving the way that it's, the way that it's done now. I think it's got a little ridiculous. But I think after Thanksgiving, it's pell-mell, pedal to the metal, Christmas, anticipation. It's in the air. It's the decorations. It's the Christmas trees. All of the secular hallmarks of Christmas, which of course, date back to pre-Christmas times, but have been incorporated into the season that we now call Christmas. I love Christmas time. I wish it were longer. I honestly do. I honestly feel like it goes by too fast. And when it's over, I'm sad. I'm sad to have it be over. And really, when it's over, it is when you're really kind of facing this uphill slog. Even with, I remember when I was still in school, or when I was teaching, you had the end of the year, end of the calendar year. After, once you got into November, then you had the Thanksgiving break to look forward to, and then after Thanksgiving break, it's all just pretty much wrapping up. Then there's like exams and whatnot, but basically the semester's for all intents and purposes over. And then you've got at least 2 weeks off for Christmas and for New Year's. But after Christmas, after New Year's, once you go back to school again, it's a long slog. January, February, till whenever spring break is, till, whenever you get a week off there. And then, you have, speaking liturgically again, you have Lent. Lent starts sometime around February usually. And that, of course, leads into Easter, which is also another joyful season. But I have to say, vibe-wise, Christmas has it all over Easter. And that's not a religious statement, because I know religiously speaking, Easter is, if you are a believer, Easter is equally as important, if not more so, than Christmas, and it's equally as joyful, if not more so, than Christmas is. But the Easter season, I don't know, this is probably more of a cultural thing than anything else. Easter season doesn't have the same festive sense, quality to it that Christmas does. I think a lot of what makes Christmas festive relates to the cold weather. It relates to, and that's really only something that's a factor, in the northern hemisphere, of course, because in the southern part of the world, Christmas is the middle of summer. And when I went to South Africa way back in 2011, I went during the month of December. The day is for a couple of weeks just before Christmas, and it was hot, and it was summer, and that's like a whole different vibe. I just have to imagine. It's hard to imagine, but that's the way it is for much of the world, but not the way that we conceive of it, generally speaking. I didn't grow up in an area that got a lot of snow or cold weather. I grew up in in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. It got cold, but didn't get really cold. Usually didn't snow in December. Usually we had a snow day or two, that was really exciting, maybe in January or February. But not usually in December. So all of the Christmas all of the imagery of Christmas of there being snow everywhere, and Christmas lights reflecting off of the snow, and all of that stuff, which is really not just a northern hemisphere phenomenon. It's a north of the northern hemisphere. It's a northern part of the northern hemisphere phenomenon. Most of my family is from all of my family are, as far as I'm aware of, are from Wisconsin. That's where my mother and father were both born, and both their roots, their ancestry, their parents and their brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and everybody, they were all Wisconsinites. So Christmas time, we drove up to Wisconsin. It was something I always looked forward to. I always loved, not just seeing relatives that I didn't usually see, including cousins that I always had fun goofing around with, but it was also just seeing the snow. There was something magical about it. And there were, of course, years, most of the time there was snow on the ground and it was cold. There were a couple of years, where there wasn't snow, and that was disappointing for me. For people in Wisconsin, it was probably a relief.
In 4.8 miles, stay to the right to Talmadge Road.
All right. I will. So, so for people who actually live in the middle of it, winter is no joke. It goes on for months, and it gets old. And so any relief that you get from it in the midst of it is something that you really enjoy. But for me, getting to experience snow, whether going up to Wisconsin and seeing snow in its sort of natural habitat, or the times when there'd be snow in my hometown of Atlanta, the odd southern snowstorm, which would happen approximately once a year. It was always exciting. And I think that even for those of us who grow up in places where it doesn't snow, generally speaking, and where you don't see snow for Christmas, you still associate Christmas with winter weather. And I think that's part of what makes it festive, because it's like, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful, right? It's the coziness of it. It's outside, it's cold, it's windy, but inside you get warmed up, and it's you drink your hot chocolate, and it's you feel sheltered from the cold, and there's a kind of I don't know, there's like there's a festive feeling about that. So that was a long preamble to what I'm really going to be talking about here. I think I've got a few more things I want to say, and this is a long drive, and I've been I'll explain why I've been making this long drive in a minute. But it's dark. It's been rainy. It's cold and rainy, so it's been it hasn't been the most fun drive. It's not a drive that I really thought I was going to make, which I'll explain in a minute. But I want, I've been thinking, I've realized lately how much I love Christmas time. And I think it's because there's a sense of enchantment. There's still a sense of enchantment in the world around Christmas time. It's not anything crass. People talk, like there's that old Charlie Brown special that I remember from my youth. How Charlie Brown was bemoaning how Christmas was getting commercial. It was just being commercialized. But I even when I was a kid, and I would think about the presents I would get and be excited to get presents. That really wasn't the essence of Christmas, even then, for me. And I doubt that was the essence of Christmas for most anybody else. There might be some people who were just completely crass, for whom that was, what Christmas was exclusively about. But so the world, there's a certain enchantment about things, and I think so much of what causes depression today, so much of what, if I may be so bold, what makes people in in an advanced technological age, where generally speaking people live longer, people don't get sick as often, although maybe
in half a mile, stay to the right to Talmadge Road.
Although maybe that's changing, but I won't get into that right now. That'll take me down too dark of a road for this video. I don't want to talk about any of the
approaching a railroad crossing.
The shenanigans, the monkey business that's happened since 2020, and so I'll just allude to it, but I'm going to move on from it now. Let me take a break here, actually. All right, I just wanted to make sure that I was on the right track there, and I am. I had to take a turn. So I think the problem, the thing that makes people sad or depressed often is the lack of enchantment. I mean, it's deeper than that. It's the lack of it's being told that materialism is the only reality. I mean, I think it all springs from that. We're not materialist creatures. We're built with spiritual antennae, and so when we're told you have to do away with that, that's just fantasy. That's just pie in the sky. That's just the flying spaghetti monster or whatever. When you're told things like that, you're cut off from what makes you whole. And that is a big part of the reason why there's such a feeling of disenchantment. Why the world doesn't seem enchanted the way that it used to. Remember when you were a child and how enchanted the world was? You wouldn't have used that word probably, because you probably wouldn't have known that word. But looking back now, when I look back at my childhood, the world was truly an enchanted place. It was a place of wonder. And you lose that now when you get older, because when you get older, what the world tells you, even if you grow up in a family that's religious, even if you grow up in a culture that's where there is a spiritual faith, a transcendent spiritual faith, you're aware that the wider culture out there, doesn't think you should believe in those kinds of things, doesn't want you to believe in those kinds of things, wants to chop off your spiritual antennae, wants to spiritually castrate you, essentially. So your antennae are forced, maybe they can't get rid of it totally. They can't excise it from you because it's a part of you, but you're told it's a thing. It's an appendage with no real use to it, and so you get used to seeing the world in materialistic, mundane terms. Of course, mundane. The world means mundane. Worldly and mundane; those are synonyms. But mundane means a specific a way of seeing the world, as boring, as unenchanted, as drudgery, as a thing. You're just on this flying rock in the middle of a void for who knows how many years, and then it's oblivion, and there's no reason or purpose to it, and all that jazz. And you want enchantment, and that's why around Christmas time you feel a stir. You're person's flashing his brights at me there. Around Christmas time you feel a stir of enchantment, even if it's just a stir, even if it's nothing like what it was like when you were a kid. Even if you're the pleasure receptors and the joy receptors that you had when you were a child are nowhere close, or I should say, the joy pleasure receptors that you have now are nowhere close to what you had when you were a child, what they were when you were a child, the kind of joy that you could just soak out of living when you were a child. Around Christmas time, there's a stirring of that again. There's a stirring of that again. And I'm not saying this is completely unrelated to the reason for the season. I'm not saying this is unrelated to the birth of Jesus Christ, but it's not necessarily something that connects in everybody's mind. There are people out there who aren't very religious, but who still feel this way around Christmas time. They feel more festive, they feel happier, they feel more connected to their fellow man and to the world, and they feel like miracles are possible. These are the things that enter your consciousness around Christmas time. And I was interested in, I had thought more about this. I'd realized this, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be a grump. You're supposed to be a grouch. You're supposed to just. You're supposed to just talk about how Christmas is just. You're supposed to scoff at it. You're supposed to be Scrooge-like. Damn, man, this drive is intense. I'm driving down a dark country road, and there suddenly a police car with its sirens flashing was coming up behind me fast, and I got out of the way, and luckily it passed me. I didn't know if I have not had good luck with speeders, but I guess with I've been given a lot of speeding tickets in my life, but I guess in this case, this cop is after somebody else. I still see him ahead of me here. But it's sort of like cool to be cynical about Christmas. And just roll your eyes at things that I don't know. I think just think of it as corny, and all that, and just see it as crass and commercial, and like Charlie Brown was bemoaning in the Peanut special. But I'm definitely not that way, and I just realized suddenly this year. I'm ending the 55th year of my life. I'm turning 55 in January 25th. And I have never seen the Nutcracker Suite. And this is a fixture of Christmas time for so many people. And so this year I thought, what if I saw this play, this ballet, this whatever it is. I guess it's a ballet. I guess that's what you call it. So I looked at things around town, because there was some production of it that was going on in the city that I live in right now, Savannah, or close by at Hilton Head Island, which is kind of hoity-toity. And I think they both had productions of Nutcracker Suite, but both of them were way too expensive for me. And then I said, well, maybe there's a place in a nearby town, or a somewhat nearby town, that has more reasonable prices. And I ended up finding a place in a town called Valdosta, which is in South Georgia. It's actually further than I thought I was going to go, but for reasons I'll talk about in a minute. But the price was very reasonable. So I booked a ticket for today, Sunday, December 7th, matinee show, 2:30. And I went to see the Nutcracker Suite in Valdosta, Georgia. Now, in my mind, I don't know if this ever happens to y'all, but sometimes, you read a name of a certain town, and you think of another town, and I somehow thought, when I saw Valdosta, I thought in my mind, Dublin, Georgia is a town that's much closer. It's maybe about, it's not much closer, but it's not nearly as much of a hoof. And it's a place where it's easier to get from Savannah. But I got up this morning and thought, okay, well, today's the day I'm going to go see Nutcracker Suite. I'm going to make a field trip to see Nutcracker Suite for a reasonable price in a smaller town, instead of getting gouged here in Savannah, or the Savannah environs. And then I realized suddenly, wait a minute, that's Valdosta. Valdosta is not Dublin. Dublin is roughly speaking, halfway between Savannah and Atlanta. It's due west of Savannah. Valdosta is much farther to the south, and it's significantly, I think it's fair to say, significantly longer. It takes a lot longer to get there, and you have to. You don't just get there by interstate. At least from Savannah, there's no easy way to get there from the interstate. So I ended up taking a much longer drive than I thought I would take, and a much longer drive back than I thought I would take. But I got there and I watched the Nutcracker Suite, and it was cool. It was interesting. I don't know much about ballet. I only crammed my knowledge of the history of the Nutcracker Suite and what it's about, and everything like that. So I'm not in any way an expert. But it was a very festive event, and there was, it was sort of a where I saw it in Valdosta. They have Valdosta's like a. I don't have to go into detail about Valdosta. I've gone into enough detail about stuff in this video. But the production that I saw was sort of halfway between a community theater production and a professional production. So they had professional dancers who were really good, who were brought on and who were obviously getting paid to perform. But there were also lots of like kids from the area and like little girls who were taking ballet classes, some of whom were, more advanced than others, and so there was and also some boys, some little boys, also participating, generally not as ballet dancers, but in other ways in the play, and some older folks look maybe from the. When I say older folks, like just adults from the area who are maybe, who like to do, who like to be involved in theater. So it was a hodgepodge of different. There were some really well-trained dancers.
In half a mile, turn left on Barrington Ferry Road.
In the most important parts, I should say. And there were some, just more community type people, just folky type people, in other roles. So it was fun to be there. Now, it was a little weird, just wandering in as somebody who's not from the community, as just some guy. I tend to be, these days, especially as I'm growing older, I tend to be more aware of myself when I'm in a solo capacity, just dropping in on places. I used to not have any problem with it at all. I would drop in anywhere, wouldn't care, wouldn't even think about it. But now I kind of, to be honest, TBH, using text speak, I feel like people are wondering, who's this weird old guy sitting all by himself? What's he doing here? But really the crowd was big enough that I don't think I was really, I don't think people looked at me askance too much. But more importantly, I got to experience this production.
In half a mile, turn left on South Coastal Highway 17.
Now, if I had to do it all over again and drive this distance in the rain and in the dark, I don't know if I would necessarily do it. I have to be honest about that too. I don't know whether the bang was worth the buck, or the bang, not the buck, because the buck was good. It was a cheap price. It was a good price, but the drive has been kind of punishing. But that the point is, I went all this way just so. But the point is, I made this trek. I made this trek through the rain and through the darkness. The darkness is more driving back, but I made this what turned out to be an arduous trek. I'm going to be, when I get back to my domicile, I'm going to just collapse. It's strange how driving can just wear you out. It really can. But it was all seeking enchantment. and wanting, like, I guess not wanting to have another Christmas season pass by without having experienced this event that for so many people is what they do at Christmas time. They go to see the Nutcracker. And it had never been something I'd done at Christmas time before. It had never been something I had felt a need to do before. It had never been something that I felt somehow my Christmas experience was incomplete without doing it. But this year I just thought, well, I'll check it out. So I did. And so here I am. And I've got about 20 miles to go. Let me stop this video now. Hopefully y'all got something out of it. I don't know. Let me know if you did or if you didn't. Actually, don't let me know if you didn't. But let me know if you did.